To steal $22 million worth of jewelry and cash, the man devised what he believed was the perfect robbery plan. Brandon first hijacked the driver who was responsible for picking up the jewelry courier. He knocked on the driver's window, pointed a gun at him, and even showed him a live security feed from outside the driver's home. To keep his family safe, the driver had no choice but to hand over his phone. Disguised as the driver, Brandon then went to pick up the jewelry courier who had just landed. The priceless gems were inside the briefcase the courier was carrying. But what Brandon didn't expect was that the person sitting in the back seat wasn't the courier at all. It was a police officer who had been tracking him for a long time. It turned out the real courier had quickly switched identities with the officer while they were still on the plane. Later that night, the jewel thief Brandon, who had never failed before, prepared to launch another operation. He packed his gear, carefully made sure he wouldn't leave any fingerprints, and hurried into the parking garage. He then drove to a spot across the street from a baby supply store, waiting for his target. Soon, someone drove away from the store. Brandon immediately followed and took the chance to get a clear look at the man's face. Then he suddenly stepped on the gas and pulled in front of the car, watching the driver closely through the rearview mirror. When they reached a more remote area, Brandon intentionally stopped at a red light. Once the car behind him stopped without suspicion, he quickly turned on his hazard lights, pulled on a mask, grabbed his handgun, and popped open the trunk. When Matt stepped out of his car, Brandon quickly got out and pointed the gun at him. After confirming Matt wasn't carrying any weapons, Brandon gestured for him to climb into the trunk. Terrified, Matt didn't dare resist and obediently crawled inside. Brandon then took Matt's phone from the car and drove off, with Matt locked in the trunk. Meanwhile, jewelry store owner Dig was preparing to transport $3 million worth of diamonds. To make sure nothing went wrong, he had the real diamonds strapped to the courier's ankle, while fake jewelry was placed in the briefcase. By this time, Brandon had already driven near the jewelry store. Using Matt's phone, he sent a text saying he had arrived. The owner had no idea the person had been replaced and immediately ordered the transport to begin. To be safe, Dig handed both men a handgun. William then left the store with his nephew Louis to escort the diamonds. What they didn't know was that Brandon had been waiting outside the entire time. As soon as they set off, he stepped on the gas and followed them. Since Brandon had taken the escort vehicle earlier, William didn't suspect anything. After they had driven a sufficient distance, Brandon suddenly rammed their car. The next second, he pointed the dark barrel of his gun at them, while also showing them a surveillance feed on a screen. Facing such a direct threat, the two men didn't dare resist. They followed Brandon's orders and threw their weapons and phones into his car. Brandon then demanded the jewelry they were carrying. William tried to trick the robber by handing over the fake jewelry from the briefcase, but Brandon saw through the deception immediately.